impossible to see. The future is.
This is essentially how I feel now after watching the teaser for episode 9. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, but one thing still seems certain for me at least, and that's Kylo Ren's arc in this trilogy, Bendemption. Vader once said to Ahsoka that he destroyed Anakin Skywalker, and as we all know, Vader was wrong. Anakin became eternal in the Force after giving his own life to save his son. He found redemption. We hear Kylo Ren say those exact words to his father Han on Starkiller Base. Ben Solo is gone. I destroyed him. But I disagree, and I truly think the films do too. The way we meet Kylo Ren mimics Darth Vader's arrival on the Tantive 4, but instead of confronting someone who absolutely loathes him, Kylo is confronted immediately with someone from his past. Someone who reminds him of who he really is. Lor San Tekka knows that Kylo Ren is Ben Solo under that mask. He knows that his mother and uncle are the offspring of the Chosen One, thereby making Ben Solo, in a sense, sacred. But instead, what is standing before Lor San Tekka is this perversion of who and what Ben Solo truly is, a product of the light. It's why he tells Kylo that something far worse has happened to him. Even when threatened with a demonstration of the dark side, Tekka tells him he may try. That's a pretty bold move in my opinion, while being faced with a truly powerful Force user. But the larger picture is, this man in a mask is not who he thinks he is. Now sure, Kylo Ren follows the paradigm of the Star Wars villain and mows down Tekka with his red lightsaber, further giving us a glimpse into a real darkness that no doubt he does possess. But even his lightsaber is unstable, which is a reflection of his character. Beyond just having a tendency towards outbursts of anger, I think this represents his chaotic nature in the Force itself during this time in his life. Also, consider this. We know Snoke thinks Kylo Ren's mask is absurd, so it's not Snoke making Kylo wear the helmet or use the voice changer. As far as I know, it's not being forced by the Knights of Ren. It's Ben's choice to don the mask and change his voice. From a certain point of view, it's like he's hiding himself. So if Ben Solo was destroyed and Kylo Ren was fully aligned with the dark side already, why would he even worry about needing to be intimidating? It wouldn't matter. The helmet, his voice, it's to help him feel like the ruthless dark side warrior he wants to become, due to all his anger as well as fear. The one thing I will say is that the Knights of Ren coming back has me intrigued. I want to see the dynamic between them and Kylo. I have the suspicion that the wearing of the helmet while being part of Ben Solo pretending to be his grandfather is also some kind of ritualistic thing. When we do see him and the Knights of Ren in a Force vision, they do look like some gang of Force mystics, with their leader being the Chosen One's grandson. It could very well be that these aren't in fact Luke's other Jedi, but that they chose Ben to be Kylo in honor of whatever the hell Ren actually means, because we still don't really know what that even pertains to. Perhaps being a part of whatever the Knights of Ren are gave Ben Solo that sense of importance and control. But like we all saw when he dropped the mask in front of Rey, he's a young man, soft-spoken, and not exactly intimidating. I thought it was surprising when some people thought it was dumb that Kylo took off his mask in the movie. They thought it ruined his character from staying in badass mode. To me, that is the point of Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's helmet and voice are a complete misdirect. His powers in the Force are not. That's it. It's hard to reconcile the idea that anyone could be redeemed after killing Han Solo or ordering the slaughter of a village, but Star Wars isn't real life. In Star Wars, heinous acts like these are not beyond redemption at all, as seen with Darth Vader. Now, I have talked about this moment before, the moment between Han and Kylo. It is extremely important to my point of view on his redemption and why I think it is coming. I know Kylo Ren killed Han because he believed it would be the thing that solidified his position in the dark side, while also ending his own suffering. But on the contrary, it tore him apart even further. Han's final gesture towards his long-lost son was one of pure, unconditional love, something I don't think Kylo Ren even remembers. Han gently touched his son's cheek. The fact that this is Han's final act, and that Kylo became unbalanced over his father's death, only proves to me that the whole idea behind Kylo Ren's arc is that he will be pushed over and over again towards the light until he absolutely cannot deny it anymore. We even see this theme of the light flickering in him carry over in his reluctance to kill his own mother, Leia. In reality, had he not been caught off guard by sensing the forgiveness and sorrow of his own mother, he would have stopped the blaster fire from blowing her into space. In no way does that seem like the thinking of a person who is evil at their core. Perhaps because Leia is powerful in the Force as demonstrated in The Last Jedi, this is why Kylo could truly sense her forgiveness rather than his father's. Either way, it seems like he is considering that maybe his actions might be wrong. That's a big thing to see a villain do, again, in the middle chapter of a saga. Maybe the dark side thing isn't working out so well. It's also worth mentioning that Snoke has lost confidence in Kylo Ren at this stage in his story. The common thread with Kylo, Ben Solo, is that people give up on him, and it sends him into fits of rage because he has legitimate abandonment issues. But out of everyone in the story so far, the only person that somehow hasn't given up on Ben Solo is Rey. She literally says to Luke on Ahch 2 that he is our last hope. Rey saw everything there is to know about Ben's past when they touched hands. She saw the same light that Leia saw in her son, the same light she proclaimed to Han in The Force Awakens. Under all that darkness is still Ben Solo. But the question now is, how can Ben Solo emerge? How can he completely realign with the light and become redeemed in this story? I think it really comes down to the very thing that turned him towards the dark: love. Ben Solo's perceived lack of love from his own family pushed him over the edge and into the manipulation of Snoke. The only thing now that can fundamentally change the way he thinks about himself, as well as his alignment in the dark or light, is for someone important to demonstrate an act of unconditional love that will completely cause a rapid shift in his allegiance. And another thing to consider is, in Episode 9, he may have a falling out with the Knights of Ren, another form of abandonment in his arc. I said it earlier, impossible to see the future is after seeing the teaser, but I think this could be an interesting event to occur. Remember too, redemption is also about receiving forgiveness, which Kylo Ren already received from his mother and uncle. Now, Luke does admittedly say no to Kylo when asked if he is there to forgive him, to save his soul, but Luke's actions with Leia in my eyes demonstrated that he is there for two reasons: let his nephew get out some rage on a ghost of his past without the possibility of harm, as well as atone for his own wrongdoings, not only towards his wider family in the galaxy, but towards his nephew, the one he gave up on. No one is ever really gone. No one is beyond redemption. That's the important part. The main issue is that Luke himself cannot be the one to push Kylo to the light. There is only one last person Ben needs to hear this from before he can forgive himself for everything he has done under the moniker Kylo Ren, and that's hearing forgiveness from his own father. Now for the Reylo crew, I do think Rey has an integral part in Ben Solo's redemption, but I do think we saw most of that in The Last Jedi. Now it's time for Ben to go to Rey, the way that Rey went to Ben on the Supremacy. But something will have to happen to push Ben in this direction. I speculate something special is in store for Kylo Ren in Episode 9 to cement his turn to the light. And yes, I think it might be something having to do with his father, and perhaps even a flashback or vision where Kylo Ren feels or understands, even sees that no matter what, his father still truly loves him and forgives him after all he has done. We heard in the trailer for Episode 9, no one is ever really gone. Luke also spoke those words to Leia before confronting Ben on Crate. Han may be dead at the hands of his son, but his presence was felt throughout The Last Jedi. The last thing we see of Kylo are Han's dice in his hand. To me, that's a foreshadowing of what's to come, the ghost of his father. It's a big stretch, but I believe that Han Solo influencing his son's turn back to the light in Episode 9 is important and integral to how he finds redemption. It may also be the way that Kylo and Rey reunite. Kylo seeking out Rey after seeing an apparition of his father, who knows? The only thing I do know is that I feel that Ben Solo will be making a bold change by the end of Episode 9. After all, what is Star Wars if not a space fantasy revolved around love and redemption? To finish out part 1 of this Redemption of Ben series, I wonder if there will be a moment of confrontation between Leia and Ben. The scene in the teaser where he is maskless may very well be Kylo and the First Order smoking out the Resistance on whatever planet they may be. But imagine if he came face to face with his mother for the first time in the trilogy, literally face to face. I have this idea that it would be an analog to Han facing his son on Starkiller Base, Kylo confronted with his own mother, and then she lets out, "Ben." I think it would stop him dead in his tracks. Due to seeing how he dealt with sensing his mother on the Raddus, I can't imagine that him seeing anything happen bad to his mother before his eyes is going to go over well. Eventually, I believe Kylo will come to understand how important his family really is. The AT-AT Chat is signing off.